Good morning. This is Tom Scott, and I'd like to welcome you to today's fall lecture series and our webinar. We've got a good group of people both in the classroom and online, and I'd like to again welcome you to our fall lecture series. I'm fully expecting to see some people drop off here after my next announcement, which is that our invited speaker, Tab Clardy with the FBI, will not be here to join us this morning. Tab called me earlier this morning, let me know that he was pulled into an active investigation and was not going to be able to join us. So we instead are going to be doing a presentation today as part of our cybersecurity lecture series related to cyber workforce and the needs for expanded activities as it relates to cybersecurity. So again, good morning. My name is Thomas Scott. This is, as my friend affectionately calls it, my NASCAR resume, a variety of organizations I've been involved with, and some cybersecurity related credentials there as well. But the reality is never take the red shirt, because as we see in the picture, Kirk, Spot, McCoy, and Ensign Ricky are beating down to the planet. Guess who's not coming back? And while Devon Smith may actually be impressed with that previous slide, the reality is that I'm probably as much like Ensign Ricky as anyone. So again, good morning to those of you that are just joining us. Again, my name is Tom Scott, and our speaker, Tab Clardy, is not able to join us today due to a being called into his real job at the FBI. So I'd like to point you guys out to a resource called CyberStates. It is an interactive website and a database that takes a look at workforce and the digital economy. Most specifically, what I'd like to call your attention to is that the cyber economy and the cyber contribution is approximately $1.3 trillion to the U.S. economy, or approximately 7.5%. The nice thing about the CyberStates is that you have the ability to drill down from not only national data, but being able to look into state-specific data. So this is just a summary of the CyberStates as it relates to South Carolina. Approximately 62,000 people employed in the tech industry, over 6,000 tech businesses. Average wage in the tech industry is approximately $76,000. However, if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see that South Carolina ranks in the bottom half, in the I guess in the top half, but 27th as it relates to tech employment and ranking. Our average tech wage is 40th out of 50, and we sit 38th in terms of innovation rank. So again, approximately 62,000 jobs, we rank 27th. If you take a look though, what I really want to point out to you is that South Carolina falls below the national average. If we take a look over here, 49%, South Carolina is 40% in terms of the intersection of tech industry and tech occupation employment. If we take a look at the percentage of workforce in the tech industry, again, you can see that South Carolina sits here at 3.2% versus a national average of 4.4%. Looking even at wages, South Carolina lags behind. Our average salary is approximately 15 to 20% lower in South Carolina than a national average, the 53 versus the 42. Even the tech industry wages, which you guys all know, and I will compliment you on choosing a major that actually has some employability possibilities. Average on a national level, $109,000. Here in South Carolina, we're sitting at approximately 3/4 of that. But the nice thing is, if you look at the wages related to the tech industry, they tend to be 81% higher than the overall wages. So again, let's take a look now at some of the leading technology occupations and jobs. At a national level, it's almost 2-to-1 software and web developers versus networks, system security, computer support, and database administrators. In South Carolina, software and web development falls fourth. You guys have heard this at least once, if not multiple times. We live in a software-defined economy. I would wager that while network architects, and we certainly know cybersecurity is important, perhaps South Carolina needs to put a higher emphasis on software and web development so that our numbers, because if you look at those numbers all on the right, they're all around the 7,000 level, all relatively equivalent. If you look at the numbers on the left, it's 2-to-1 in terms of the ratio of software and web developers versus the other occupations out there. Again, you can make your own interpretations and your own evaluations. I tend to look at numbers like this and I look for those types of discrepancies and those types of outliers that say, hey, this is important. So this is a heat map, and each one of these boxes not only represents data, but the size of the box represents a portion of data. And again, you can see there on a national level, IT services, custom software services is number 1, yet over here in South Carolina, it's second. Again, not making a value judgment, just making observations that we tend to have some of maybe our priorities are flip-flopped. Or other states are looking at software with a higher level of value than we are here within South Carolina. Again, another type of comparison, South Carolina 4.6 versus 7.5% nationally as it relates to the economic impact of the tech industry. So it's not all bad news, and I'm not sure that any of it was bad news. It again depends on your value judgments, but it's news and it's data that you guys can then use to make your own evaluations and interpretations. I think this is a good one. Not necessarily that on a national level that there's been a decline in terms of patents, but I think what's nice is in South Carolina, you're seeing a steady growth of patents being granted. So I'll look around the classroom. What is a patent being granted indicative of? What's that mean?
I see intellectual property is protected.
That somebody has developed something of a related to intellectual property and they want to protect it.
Like a logo,
You
right?
must have a good instructor, you want to say? All right, so let's take a look at the map here. And Danielle, I think this is something that you would find valuable in terms of the value of this map. So first here, let's take a look at the percentage of growth in job postings. What are the 3 cities that you guys see there in the dark colors here?
Atlanta,
There's Atlanta.
Dallas,
Austin?
Is it Austin? Okay. How about here?
It's actually Denver?
Denver.
It is.
Okay. So these are the 3 cities that have had the highest percentage of growth in jobs. Okay. Now the blue here is the number of job postings per resident. What's the state that's got the darkest color?
North?
What state has got the darkest color blue?
Is that North? Virginia?
Virginia. And what's the second one sitting right on the top here? Tell me why.
Washington.
Washington, D.C. You've got the Pentagon there, you've got NSA there, you've got CIA there, all of those types of governmental federal positions that rely on people that have cybersecurity backgrounds and skills to do that work. What do you notice there? Within a 100-mile radius, what are we touching here? Charlotte. Within a 200-mile radius, what are we touching here? Okay, and what dark blue state are we touching within a 300-mile radius? Virginia. Okay, this is maybe not a bad epicenter if you're interested in a career in something related to cybersecurity, Because what you're not seeing here is where I'm pointing with the pointer is Augusta, Georgia, and North Augusta, South Carolina, and Aiken, South Carolina, which is a region and an area that's absolutely going to explode because they're moving U.S. Army Cyber Command from Fort Meade, Maryland, up here, down to Augusta, Georgia. All right, so let's take a look at, so we know that tech jobs pay higher. We know that security jobs pay a little bit higher than tech jobs. But of those types of security jobs, as a security analyst, you can see that the highest paid work in what sector? Finance and insurance. Who did their paper on a financial company?
Financial.
Good stuff, Mr. Thomas. All right. Education sector. Lowest paid out of all in terms of those that work in the security industry. Okay. Again, this comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, comes from the U.S. Department of Labor, and just shows you here in South Carolina, we had approximately in 2015, 1,300 security analysts, average wage of $71,000. If I move to 2016, that average salary in 1 year has grown by approximately $1,800. So if I want to take a look at comparisons of an information security analyst, approximately $92,000, and again, this all comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Nationally, approximately $37,000 is the average wage. Computer occupations at least twice that, and you can see information security analyst almost 3 times that. So, we talked about money so far. Let's talk about the need. Depending on who you ask, there are anywhere from 2,300 to 3,000 open positions in South Carolina alone. Again, depending upon who you ask, and I believe this one comes from ISC Squared, 1.5 million cybersecurity professionals will be needed to accommodate the predicted global shortfall by 2020. Busy slide, lots of numbers, but the takeaway here is that over half of the people that were surveyed felt that of their applicants, only 1 out of 4 was qualified. Okay? So what do they talk about in terms of the biggest skill gaps? The number 1 gap is the ability to understand the business. Okay? I had a former deputy CIO of mine, and he made me sit through, and I say he made me sit, he invited me to the staff meetings of each of the 3 business units so that I could get an understanding of what they actually did in terms of their mission and their mission essential functions. So at that time I worked at the Department of Labor, and I sat down with the unemployment unit. I figured out that the unemployment unit helps people pay with a government benefit from the trust fund if they're out of work. Okay, that is their mission. So they deal with money, they deal with Social Security cards. Anytime you deal with money, there's potential for fraud or waste. Okay, the other business unit was called Workforce Services. They help people find jobs. So things like job boards and career fairs and other things. As a security person, it helped me understand these guys deal with money. They need certain controls. These guys want much more of an open dialogue because they're trying to help people get jobs and they're collecting resumes, but they're still dealing with Social Security numbers and private and personal information that we want to make sure we protect. Technical skills in the middle, communication skills, still very highly valued, or what you guys keep hearing is they define as soft skills. And that's the ability to stand in front of your colleagues and get a point across, to be able to be persuasive, to be able to sit in front of somebody and do a PowerPoint presentation or a Prezi presentation, or to simply go, I don't need a presentation. I'm going to stand up here and I feel confident enough that I don't need to have something in terms of a graphic behind me when I talk. I need the graphics behind me. It makes me feel more comfortable. It's like my line of security blanket. So fastest cybersecurity demand in industries, professional service, highest one growing there. But you can also see finance and insurance, manufacturing and defense are other areas that are managing consumer data. Cybersecurity job postings take 8% longer to fill than normal IT jobs. That's because cybersecurity is a lot like medicine in that there are a lot of specialties. So you have brain doctors and stomach doctors and foot doctors. Well, in the security world, you have analysts and you have investigators and you have policy writers. And so you can't just say, I'm going to hire a cybersecurity professional. You could get somebody that's very good with things like disaster recovery and incident response, but terrible for networking and has no concept of access control or provisioning. So again, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to fill those positions because you've got to find the right fit and even more importantly, the right skill set from that individual to address what your particular needs are. Variety of expertise required for the roles, security, auditing, understanding networking, having some level of core database understanding. Can you do any coding and scripting? I saw an amazing 11th grader Tuesday in Nashville stand up and tell everybody he was the CEO of his own cybersecurity company. He went to his first ShmooCon conference when he was 8. And he is a mentor to other middle and high school students as it relates to cybersecurity. And he said, I learned Python, I learned Java, I learned HTML, and those all provide me strong foundations for learning coding and learning how software works. So as I'm managing security, I'm better able to understand what I'm doing. So we've got issues related to women in the workforce. And specifically, if you take a look, 10% of the current cybersecurity workforce is comprised of women. Danielle, what's the percentage of women in our class? There's 10 students. 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're meeting that. I'd love to see us have 2, 3, or 4 out of that 10. I will share with you guys there are a variety of initiatives across the country, whether it's women who code or girls who code, that are trying to encourage females in the STEM careers, STEM sciences, and the opportunities that exist there. So again, we just talked about STEM. Most of those STEM jobs tend to be in computing, but you also see some in life sciences, physical sciences, and nearly 1/4 of those coming out in engineering. The key piece here, 18% growth. You will continue to see more and more jobs that are coming out with some level of requirement for you to have a technology background, a math background, or some level of science. Okay, fastest growing skill, cybersecurity job postings. Again, Python, some level of software. Understanding what your compliance frameworks are. You know, we talked about I can buy a social security number off the dark web for $5, but a medical record will cost me $25. You know, it tends to be 5 times more valuable on the black market or the dark web for medical records, and that's why having things like HIPAA in place are key and important. Understanding risk, and we talked about risk management earlier in the term, some level of understanding auditing and audit planning. So again, another busy slide, depending on which piece that you pull from. At the end of the day, it's telling you there are not enough people to fill the cybersecurity jobs. We consider this what they call a negative unemployment rate, and that means that there are more jobs than there are people to fill the jobs. Part of what we do here, and I'll talk about that a little bit more with SC Cyber, is to try and encourage that conversation and take a look at encouraging K through 12 students to consider cybersecurity for careers. I just was in Charleston twice during the month of November, talking to 2,000 high school students, or I had a booth and some of them came to talk. There were 2,000 of them there. And then 800 middle school students, all on the importance and the values of cybersecurity careers. So this is a slide with 5 little snippets that all basically say the same thing. 3.5 million, 1.8 million, depending on who you ask, there is a deficit. I think that's pretty much established. Okay, demand for cybersecurity professionals will grow. 80%, I thought this was cool. 87% of cybersecurity officials came to their industry from another career. So I would encourage you, if it's not today, it may be 10 years from now, and you say, I really like networking, and you go be a network administrator for 10 years, that there are opportunities to still transition, whether it's now or in the future, into a career field related to cybersecurity. The good news, 65% of organizations have chief information security officers versus only half of them the previous year. So let me ask you that. Would you guys ever consider giving everything I've taught you, working in an organization or having one that doesn't have somebody who's responsible for security? At the end of the day, what happens to the CEO of Target when his company gets breached? He lost his job. Okay, whether you're the CEO or wherever you're sitting, if someone's going to hold you accountable for having certain things in place. I have expectations that you're protecting my data, and if you're not doing it, we'll see you in the newspaper, we'll see you in court, and we'll see you in the unemployment line. So, what South Carolina did to address those was they created SC Cyber. That was created as an initiative out of the University of South Carolina, funded by South Carolina's Department of Commerce. And you guys can see the quote there. It's an opportunity to build a cyber ecosystem, leverages the best of industry, academia, and government, because if we don't utilize our technologies, tools, and talents, we will not have improvement in security and prosperity in our state. We will continue to lag behind the other states. If you look at what Virginia's doing, their cyber governor has put thousands and thousands of dollars, and if not millions, into their cybersecurity efforts. If you look at Georgia, they just added another 35 million onto the previous 65 million to build a cyber innovation center in Augusta, Georgia, which partners not only with Augusta University, but with state government, and they're going to be teaching the chief information security officers via the collaboration suite and the virtual classrooms, kind of like what we're doing here today. And I thought a very innovative piece is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which is the state lead for law enforcement and homeland security, will be putting their digital forensics lab into that Augusta facility. So it's a multi-purpose, multi-use facility that I think also demonstrates the governor and the state of Georgia's commitment to cyber and cyber growth that we are looking forward to, and why we continue to have these types of conversations here in South Carolina. So back in February 2016, then Governor Nikki Haley announced the launch of SC Cyber. And again, you can see her quotes there, that those attack are patient and they will never stop trying. So we have to never stop trying in terms of defending our critical infrastructure, in terms of defending our state government, and in terms of defending our economy and our American way of life. So we've partnered with a variety of partners across industry, academia, and government, everything from SPAWAR to Clemson to Savannah River National Laboratory. All of those are members of the leadership team and partners with SC Cyber. We address 5 areas of focus: education, protection, research, workforce development, and knowledge management. And obviously, today's focus is related to workforce development. One of the things that we did to help initiate this conversation was last February, we partnered with South Carolina's Department of Education, and we held a one-day symposium at Claflin University. So Claflin University is a historically black college within South Carolina, and it's one of a variety of institutions that got a multi-million-dollar grant from the U.S. Department of Energy. And think about that, U.S. Department of Energy related to cybersecurity. So why do we care about security with energy? What?
As a critical infrastructure, it's a prime target for attacks.
It's a key piece of our critical infrastructure, and it's a prime target for attacks just for that reason. How about this? What do you know that runs off of anything other than electricity? A gas-powered lawnmower? Maybe my vehicle, but even then it's got a battery running off of some level of electricity. So about 3 weeks ago, South Carolina did something called GridX. It was a full-scale exercise that they every spring they do a full-scale exercise, and they go and they say a hurricane hit or a tornado hit, or we had a train go off the track in a big chlorine cloud. Well, this year they chose to partner their full-scale exercise with a national exercise related to energy. Scenario was a long-term power outage. So, you know what? We lose our power, and we're all freaking out because three hours later our phone's dead and our connection to the world is gone. What happens if that's 3 weeks or 3 months? Think about the people in Puerto Rico. What did most of them do when they knew there was going to be no power for 6 months? They fled the island. They went to Orlando, they went to New York, they got the heck out of there, because how do you continue to live in that existence given the dependencies that we have on those critical infrastructures? It's not 1910 anymore. We don't live in an agrarian society. We don't grow our own food. We don't go out and get our water from the well. Some of us may still, right, Ethan? But the idea there is that we are highly dependent on this critical infrastructure. I saw a presentation yesterday by Ambassador Hank Cooper that talked about an EMP. You guys know what that is? An electromagnetic pulse. It is the after effect of a nuclear explosion, and it would fry everything electronic that's got wires. So if North Korea were to launch a nuclear weapon, it doesn't even have to hit a specific target. If it blows up in the air, everything underneath it will feel the shock wave of that EMP, and it will fry every piece of electronics from my computer to my toaster to my refrigerator. Done. Okay? Think about that. The statistic I heard was if such a event were to happen, 90% of the United States would be dead within a year. So, what was our number earlier for number of females? 1 out of 10, 10%. I hope you're the only survivor, because the rest of your 9 classmates will all die within a year if we suffer an EMP of that level of nature. Okay, so look around the room and see whether you're the guy that actually gets to survive. So, you watch all the zombie apocalypse movies, and it's very similar. Whether it's The Walking Dead or a Fear the Walking Dead or Z-World or whatever, those things are real, and the ability for us to continue to survive as humans in a world without the pieces that we've come to rely and depend upon is highly suspect. So again, back off of my story and back to the presentation, we did a one-day symposium. We had law enforcement there from the Computer Crime Center. Any of you guys ever met Lieutenant Britt Dove? The guy that gave us the tour through the Computer Crime Center?
Yeah.
Okay. And I actually, I met a guy yesterday, Max, that sells those machines that crush the hard drive. And he said, yeah, I sold that one to SLED about 10 years ago. We had SPAWAR come and talk about different types of camps. We talked about curriculum, and we also talked about apprenticeships. A variety of discussions related to cybersecurity and jobs. Some of you may know this guy here. He used to work at South Carolina's Department of Education, Tony Dillon. He's now the internship coordinator for the College of Engineering and Computing, and he was a leader for many years in the cyber education efforts. Britt, again, who you guys met, talked about, we have problems hiring people. to do cybersecurity in government because they can get paid more in the private sector. Chris Bomar from the South Carolina Attorney General's office says, you know what, when you look at child porn all day, it affects you. It affects you psychologically, it affects you emotionally. You know, I talked with one guy yesterday and he said as he was doing these types of investigations, he made a point every 2 hours to get up and walk away from the computer. Go get a soda, go to the bathroom, go for a walk, and just put his mind on something other than the disturbingly graphic images that he was being forced to look through as part of his job, as part of an investigation. So again, there are other negative factors and impacts in terms of working these types of jobs. So Claflin did a presentation. They recommended we strengthen the nation's cybersecurity workforce. We do that by addressing the workforce needs. This is a pretty cool little cyber lab that they have over at SC State. There's my buddy Chuck that I just was hanging out in Nashville with. And this is a variety of different devices, electronic devices. There's a doorbell, there's a camera up here. And what they study is how those devices are connected and how you install them and implement them and operate them in a secure fashion. I think it was last April when somebody hacked in and they created a botnet out of all the baby monitors and brought down, you know, Amazon and most importantly Pinterest and a whole bunch of other web-based services on the East Coast. At a federal level, one of the things that they're doing is they've created to address the workforce needs is a scholarship for service program. So you can go apply for this scholarship. They will send you to college on their dime for whether it's undergrad or graduate school. And then you must agree that you will take one of their high-paying jobs for 2 or 3 years afterwards, whatever the equivalent is of either the amount of money or the amount of time that they help contribute for your school. Not a bad deal. It's almost a guaranteed job. It's almost a guaranteed salary, and you just have to agree that for a limited amount of time, you're willing to commit back to them that gave to you. Not too dissimilar from an enlistment in one of the armed services. And I actually had a very nice grant that helped me get through graduate school, which was very similar. They paid for all of my tuition one term, and then I had to agree, actually there was a 2-for-1 on that one. I had to agree I would not quit my job until I worked at least 2 more semesters to pay off the one that they paid. So one of the things we're doing, and you guys were slightly exposed to this, is the NSA Day of Cyber School Challenge. So the NSA, which is the National Security Agency, does an online platform and program called Day of Cyber. And here in South Carolina, we took their program and we added something on top of it. And what I mean by that is we all went through, and I signed you guys up, and you were able to go through and do Day of Cyber. But what we did was we put a challenge out to all the middle and all the high schools. And we said, whichever school can have the most students go through this program and complete it, we'll give out a $1,000 technology award. So here's the rules. We did a 60-day contest. I like to say this was my own idea. But like I said before, we're watching what other states are doing, and we're mimicking and imitating success. Governor McAuliffe in Virginia and the superintendent of their Department of Education came out with a press conference, and they announced in Virginia they were doing the NSA Day of Cyber. They were going to be giving a $1,000 technology award, and I said, why can't I do that in South Carolina? So we did it. I got the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce to agree to provide some funding so that we could pay for the awards for the schools. We contacted both Ted Pitts, who's the president and CEO of the South Carolina Chamber, as well as Superintendent Molly Spearman, and we thanked them for their support. and we recognized one of the schools that did outstanding. And I'm going to talk about them in just a second. And that was Langley Bath Clearwater Middle School, which is in Aiken County. So again, this is the little flyer that went out there. It's free to participate. You can explore career opportunities related to a day of cyber, where you follow a cyber professional through their day. Here in South Carolina, we added on top of that, whatever school gets the most kids to complete, you'll get an award. So we had 25 schools register, 14 of them logged in, 8 of them actually ran the program, a total of 667 students in 60 days. I didn't think that was terribly bad. This year we're going to do 6 months instead of 60 days. But you can see here the different schools that all registered: Spartanburg, Charleston, Lexington 1, which is Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg. We had 667 students. 306 of them were female. 361 of those were male. Danielle, what do you notice about the numbers?
Male is higher.
Male is higher, but when we had a 90 to 10 ratio, 9 males to 1 female, do we have that same ratio here? No. What would you say that ratio is? Almost half and half. Pretty close, right? I think that's success.
Yeah.
We now have 50% females participating in this program in an area that typically is 10%. So Fort Dorchester High School finished in first place. Congratulations to them. They had 311 students complete, 54% male, 46% female. Over here, so I really only intended to give out 1 award, and that was the first place. But what do you guys notice about the numbers here? What's the difference between first place and second place? A lot? Not. What's the difference between second place and third place? A lot. We had a huge drop off there, didn't we? So these guys get an award for first place. I got to do something for these guys. They did such a great job. And what's interesting is the high school has 2,000 kids enrolled. So my math guy's back here. 300 kids out of 2,000. What's that percentage? Less than 25%.
Yeah.
Okay? I have like 600 kids in the middle school, and 250 of them completed. What's that percentage?
45%.
40, almost half the kids in the whole school. Wow. Again, congratulations to the high school for getting the highest number, but that middle school, in my opinion, hit it out of the park. We have half the kids complete the program. What's their female percentage? Miss Danielle. Right here.
56%.
56%. So we know based on percentages, if I got 56% female, what am I going to have on the male side? 40. I have more females, more than half of the females, more than half the participants are female. On a national level, that's 10%. They hit a home run. I decided I was going to carve extra money out of my budget. We gave them a $500 award. Okay? Then I contacted one of my colleagues down there, and I said, I got $500 in this hand. I got nothing over here. I said, Elliot, can you match my check? And he said, I went to middle school right around the corner from there. I didn't go to that school, but my aunt and uncle go to church right around the corner. He says, yeah. So he wrote a $500 check, and I was able to match it, and we gave $1,000 to the middle school. And then we got USC Aiken to give a scholarship to one of their summer camps to one of the deserving students at that middle school. Then I went back and I said, well, I was able to get that award matched, and I went back to Fort Dorchester, and I went to ECPI University, and I said, I got a $1,000 check in this hand. What's the other part, Max? I got nothing in this hand. ECPI University wrote me a $1,000 check to be able to match that one. We gave Fort Dorchester a $2,000 technology award. That's having an impact. That's making a difference in your community. So I lost the mouse. All right. So the cool thing is I can get all kinds of statistics and data of the students that participated. I can tell you what percentage were in what grade. I can tell you how many came from primary, secondary, and tertiary schools. I've got age factors in there. Now I can take all this data and go write a grant and say, hey, we only have 42% of our 13 and 14-year-olds that are able to do this. We would like to do something different or add on to it. I was able to, actually, they call it the diversity report. I can tell by my number of students whether they're Hispanic, American Indian, Asian, Black, African American, white, other, rather not say, both by males and females. Again, good statistical data. So based on the schools, again, you can kind of see there what the totals were. We had Military Magnet School, Richland Northeast, Daniel Morgan Technology Center. Congratulations and a shout out to those guys. I don't think they've got 2,000 students there. I think they have but I don't know how many they have, but it's nowhere near the size of Fort Dorchester. They embrace this program and did a really good job with getting their students going through it. We got a chance at the annual summit to present the oversized checks. And I don't know if you guys have ever held one of those, but it feels like a lot of money when you're holding one. We went down to the Aiken County Public School District and to their school board meeting, and we gave out a check there to the school board. That's Jackson. Jackson was the deserving middle school student that got a 1-week scholarship to attend Minecraft summer camp at USC Aiken. We partnered with SPAWAR down in Charleston to host both the Palmetto Cyber Defense Competition and the Palmetto Digital Forensics Competition. And this year we added another component called Cyber in the Middle. It was kind of a takeoff of Malcolm in the Middle. And we focused on middle school students. We had 3 groups of middle school students. Group 1 came in and they had to take apart and put together back a PC. Okay? And you guys were like, wait, they made me pay for a college class to do that. So and you can see that we're working with the middle school students to get that done. We also talked to them about digital ethics, digital forensics, and they actually got to go in and see the competition, which was very cool. There were 8 teams. They had a high school day, a college day, and a pro day. So 8 high schools, 8 colleges, and 8 pro teams. If you guys ever get a chance to compete, I would encourage you to do so. I know that Ronnie Wilkinson and Marshall Hollis with the USC Cyber Club always put in a team, and they've been pretty successful in years past. But I will also share with you, I think that Clemson and the Citadel are the schools that have won it in the last couple of years. You guys want some school pride, I think you should go take the trophy from them. So this is a list of the schools that came in. If you finish first, second, and third one year, you're automatically invited to the next year. And then the 5 schools at the bottom for high school qualify through the Cyber Patriot program. The 5 colleges on the right side qualify through the Southeastern Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. Variety of schools there. Again, USC finished in second. So this was the PCDC's middle school program. What was kind of cool about the whole thing there, and I want to share with you guys some of the success stories. So Josiah Bryan was a captain from Charleston Southern. He now has a job working at SPAWAR in San Diego. So they use this as recruitment. They actually bring a checkbook. Gary, you'll be impressed by this. They do signing bonuses, just like the NFL. And the college students, number one, they get embedded in the pro team, so they get to work with them on a pro level. This must have be set to automatically advance. I'm not touching anything unless Ethan's doing that behind me. They require each of the college students to submit resumes. And they look through the resumes, they watch and they see who's doing well, and then they'll go up and they'll say, Eric Chan, I'd like to offer you an $80,000 job and a $3,000 signing bonus. Okay, so Eric is ready to be hired by SPAWAR. Look at all the other STEM Girls Rock, First Lego, STEM Academy, Cyber. They do a fantastic job. I just got a chance to spend time with Miss Chanda Johnson in Nashville at the NICE K through 12 conference, which to me was a indication of the level of commitment from SPAWAR towards making STEM and cyber a priority, and it's a priority for them because the more kids that they can get out there and involve in their community, the better chance that they have of getting a workforce that can meet their demands so that they continue to be successful and profitable. So some of the things that we've done as part of those K through 12 efforts, and we've got 5 minutes here, we'll finish and wrap up. We did a Boy Scout camp. So we did one last December. We had about 75 scouts. We did one this past November in Spartanburg, 120 scouts. They all come in and get their cyber chip. They did engineering and electronics and robotics and game design and all kinds of cool stuff. We actually, you can see the student in the middle over there. In the same building, we held the cyber merit badge camp was a broadcast radio station. So part of their radio merit badge was they had to tour a broadcast radio station. And we went over there and they set up all the microphones so we would sound like chipmunks. So as we were talking, you were hearing it sounding like Alvin and Theodore. And then we actually got to go back to meet the DJ who was actually live on the air, and we got to sing to everybody, "We wish you a Merry Christmas," which was, again, Tom Scott thinks that's cool. You guys may not think it's cool. Hopefully the Boy Scouts thought it was cool, but it was a great experience nonetheless. We also partnered with Winthrop University, and they this past summer did something called Gen Cyber Camps. We went up there, and you guys remember the Cyber Protect exercise we did in class?
Yeah.
We did that with both teachers and students up there, and you can see there on the right-hand side, there's the dashboard, and they're up there buying firewalls for the network. We also do an annual poster contest. So, Devon, I know you've seen the posters because you guys helped us roll a whole bunch of those
Yes.
before the conference. And if you're a K through 12 student and you want to draw a poster or a drawing related to cybersecurity or cyber safety, we're collecting those here in South Carolina for the second week of January. The winners will be submitted to the national contest, of which the top 4 get picked as posters that get sent to state and local governments across the country, and the top 13 get put into a calendar. So this November, we launched our iteration of this year's iteration of the Day of Cyber. We started in November, and we'll go through April, and then we'll plan on announcing the winners at our summit in May, like we did this past May here in Columbia. Next May we'll be in Charleston at the Francis Marion Hotel, and we partnered with both the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to be able to put this conference on. So the last thing I'll share with you guys, one of the other things that we're doing to enhance career development and workforce development within the state of South Carolina is we have launched a cyber-specific job board that is a byproduct of our current website. And so I would encourage any of you guys, there is the ability for you to upload a resume, and people can go and view those resumes, not too dissimilar from what I think you guys use Handshake here at the university. And having said that, I did mention to you that I'm working with the Department of Administration on placing interns for the spring. There is currently a application and an advertisement on Handshake. If you're interested, please go ahead and apply. Not next week, the week after that, we'll be doing interviews to be placing interns for spring term. So again, just sharing that with you guys. Again, the kind of the nice thing about the website is it's geared towards employers as well as job seekers. There's value for both parties there. Any questions? One question?
What do you like most about working for SC Cyber?
What do I like best about working for SC Cyber? Well, if I were to appropriately suck up, it would be to say to work for the general who's sitting in the back of the room. But the real answer is I believe in my current job, I have the ability to make a difference and have an impact on people's lives. So whatever you do in your career or your life, you know, I would encourage you guys to strive towards those two things. Make a difference and have an impact. And I'll give you an example. A guy I went to high school with, every Friday night, he was the guy in the McDonald's parking lot getting drunk with the rest of us. But every Wednesday, he's in church telling everyone that we need to be in church. Well, he started up a program called Hope for Haiti. And every 6 weeks, he goes down to Haiti and he builds another water tower, or he builds another school, or he builds another daycare. And I thought, you know, at the end of his life, he will truly be able to say he had an impact and he made a difference. So regardless of whether you're saving people's lives or improving their living or their educational stature, my level of contribution, Max, is not that life-saving. It's really more on the educational piece. So you guys saw the picture of Jackson, little kid that got the middle schooler that got that award. 30 miles driving away from that board meeting, I had goosebumps. I had a smile on my face because I really felt like I had made a difference. I've been able to help that school by putting some money into their technology program, and I've been able to provide that young kid some level of encouragement by providing him that scholarship that he was able to go and learn a little bit more. So with that, I think we're out of time. We may actually be over time. For those of you that have stuck with us, we appreciate it. We're grateful. Thank you again for all of my students this fall. Thank you again for all of our speakers who have come in and shared their wisdom, their knowledge, their experience. We've gotten lots of good feedback about not only the live webinars, but the recordings that we've put up on YouTube for people to view them afterwards. I think we're going to continue this in the spring. I think what we'll probably do is the first Friday, because doing one of these every Friday has been a little bit challenging and tasking. We may reduce the frequency and maybe try and get some, I will start to say maybe get some better speakers, but that just means I just dismiss the ones I had in the spring, but some speakers with different perspectives that may bring different ideas and different thoughts there. So thank you everybody online for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and sign out, and we will hope everybody has a great Friday and a great weekend. Thank you.